All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video. I am your favorite Dark Sorcerer, Michael Hyson, aka Angelus, son of Abaddon. And today I'd like to discuss a topic that has been around for many, many years, centuries even. It is known as herbalism. Okay. Now, how can herbalism play into the magical workings of a practitioner? Okay. There are many ways because, how should I say this? There are different herbs that can deal with different things. Some herbs are stimuli, others are sedatives, others can bring you close to death, and others, well, let's just say, can heal you. All right. Now, before I go on, I just got to grab one little thing real fast and that I've got to bring over real fast because it's part of this. Alrighty. Now, as I stated, herbalism has many, many different textures to it. Hey, welcome to the channel. Now, before I do anything, just get in here real fast. I am going to be reading a little bit out of my personal grimoire. I just got to find the information I'm looking for here. All right, here. I'm wondering if this is not the other one. Just over there. All right, here we are. Now, as I stated, a lot of things take place in the ritual room. And when we get into rituals of various different sorts, herbalism really plays a big part in it. And this is why. If we're using, say, for an example, necromantic rituals, okay? Necromancy is, how should I say this? It is something that has been around for 2,000-3,000 years, if not longer. It's something that really plays a huge part in just about every aspect from alchemy to spiritual conjurations, all the way down to assassinations, even. For an example, you take hemlock, for an example. Hemlock is something that is tasteless, it's odorless, and it's something that can be slipped into food and drink. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that it is considered to be one of the 10 most poisonous. That's right, you heard me correctly. Poisonous plants out there. And what's interesting to know about just that is that it can be found throughout the world. Okay. It is also one of the things that, how should I say this? It's also one of the main type plants that was used not only in modern day suicides, but it is also something that is utilized in assassinations worldwide, mostly through the European traditions of sorcery and what I like to call the privileged. Okay. And when I say privileged, I mean the rich, the famous, those in the court, those in the church, you know, kings, dukes, and all these individuals utilize this stuff throughout the history of mankind because of the fact that it was quick and easy to get rid of an enemy. The reason for that is because it sits in it gestates within the system of the individual for 2, 3 days before they even begin to show symptoms of some form of illness. Could be the runs, it could be stomach pains, the whole kit and caboodle. Okay. Now I just want to read down. Hemlock is considered the number one. Nerium Oleander. Okay. Now, this one here, I found very, very interesting into my study of poisons and plants because of the fact that this type of plant has a bizarre account of what is known as the hue. Okay. The how effect of how it attracts you and how it deals within your system if ingested. Okay. But more so, I want you to think about this real fast. Where do your kids play the most? Where is the most secured location where you believe that your children will be safe? We're talking public parks. We're talking schools. Okay? Am I right? They're supposed to be safe there, right? Well, guess what? This plant, Oleander, okay, has been found not only on playgrounds, parks, and you got it, school systems worldwide. And it's one of the most popular shrubs found in North America. Okay. But keep in mind, it's not just North America that this is in, it is also something that is worldwide. Okay. And is used worldwide by governments, all the way down into school districts and stuff like that. So next time you go to the school, think about this. Okay. And I'm going to read you a little bit about them, these things. Now, number one, hemlock, widely known for its uses in ancient Greece in as means of execution, to whom hemlock's most famous victim was Socrates, the philosopher, who suffered the effects of the plant's most potent toxin, quinine. Okay, and that's spelled with two I's, by the way. And I'm probably butchering the word. Just about 6 to 8 leaves or so can, give or take, can cause death by disruption of the body's how should I say this, muscular junctions, resulting in what is known as ascending, okay, muscular paralysis. The paralysis typically begins in a person's legs and ascends up the body until and reaching the respiratory muscles, resulting in death. Okay. Now, the second most popular shrub in this case is, like I said, Nerium Oriolander. Okay. This shrub is one of the most dangerous on the list, which is bizarre on account of how widely it's used as a decorative shrub. All right. This bush helps and can, well, let's just say it pops up in parks, schools, and backyards all over the country, especially in the southern and west regions of the USA. Its leaves, flowers, and fruit all contain chemicals known as cardiac glycosides. Okay, and that's glycosides for those of you who wish to look it up. Which, while therapeutic in precise doses, can put a person into cardiac arrest if ingested unsystematically. Okay. Now, the third one on the list is known as monkshood, wolfsbane, and devil's hamlet, or helmet, rather. The poisonous properties of the membius of the aconitum genus have been known for generations. Several species of the plant, for example, have long been used in preparing poison tipped arrows. Think of the ancient Hellenite period, okay, ancient Greek, perhaps even that of Germanic time periods when archers would use poisonous arrows. Okay, think Middle Eastern or Asian cultures such as the ninjutsu assassins. Okay, darts with poison tips or arrows dipped in this particular item. Okay, really, really is devastating. Okay, and its purposes of hunting for and warfare in human accidental ingestion can be fatal. The plant contains appropriately named acanatini neurotoxins and cardiotoxins, which lead to gastrointestinal complications, motor weakness, and heart and lung paralysis. Basically, you'd be suffocating to death. Okay. Now, we've all heard of white snake root, angel's trumpet, dumb beni, okay, grabi, rosary pea, okay. Now, I found rosary pea and grabi to be something very interesting. Basically, it's found in Indonesia, where its vibrant black, red, and white beads are often used in the region's percussions or instruments. Okay. Now, when we're thinking of concussion type instruments of, say, or percussions, depending on what you're using, it's very, very interesting. And I'll tell you why. Hey, Mystic. Salute, John, Seeking Serpent, and Taita Samuel. How y'all doing? Now, I just want to read this one to you because of the fact that it's very, very interesting. Now, the seeds in itself are highly poisonous on account of three, or I should say, of there are abrim content, ABRIA, abria, okay? Now, which is chemically similar to the ricin found in castor seeds, sabotages your body's functions at the cellular level by inactivating the ribosome, the muscular machines in your body responsible for synthesizing proteins. Okay? This content of just one seed is said to be fatal to humans. Okay? Now, there are many others like the little apple. Okay? The suicide tree. Now, the suicide tree is a very, very interesting tree. And I'm going to read this to you because I want you to understand this one. The species of this tree belongs to the same family as the oleander, okay, and is also quite toxic to humans. The seeds of the suicide tree contains a toxic called suberin, a potent compound capable of disrupting calcium, iron channels in heart muscles, which can lead to an irregular heartbeat that is often fatal if the toxin is ingested in high enough quantities. The plant has been referred to by some as the perfect murder weapon. Getting someone to ingest this type of poison is reportedly, I should say, pretty easy to do, as its flavor can be disguised in spices when served in food. The toxic is also notorious for being overlooked as a cause of death, okay, in autopsies. It may not come as a surprise, therefore, that a team of French forensic toxicologists concluded that this particular plant, okay, has been used by more people to commit suicide and murder than any other plant, having identified more than 500 causes of fatal poisoning between 1989 and 1999 in the southwest Indian state of Kerala alone. Okay. Now, I've got 10. This grimoire is full of herbalism. Okay. Just herbalism alone. Now, when we come into necromancy, you have what is known as fumitory herbs. Okay. These are things that relax you. You go to the store. Okay. For an example, we all know those little wax warmer cubes that you can get at Walmart. Okay, this would be classified as a fumitory type thing because it kind of smells good when it's heating up and it's burning, and it's really one of those things that helps you to relax. It doesn't just smell good in general. Major herbs. Okay, this herb is also used by plague doctors in the beak of masks in the old days, which I found very interesting. And I found this out with a lead from one of Sumnus Redwood's books. Okay. Mandrake is used for its poisonous extract, but also in effigies. Think of voodoo dolls and cursing jars. Think of maybe one of those. It doesn't matter the topic. It could be something like, say, sweetening up the love life type jar. Whatever. It could be in a griscris bag. It could be you know burnt even. Okay, and during reanimation rituals, in this case, okay, in necromancy, it's used for reanimation. Nightshade is another one, which used due to the closeness to death, as Sumner Stredwood so colorfully put it. And I like the way he put it because of the fact that in small doses, it can literally bring you close to death, kind of making you ill so that that veil becomes more clear. Okay. Now, in my own research, nightshade is classified as a highly toxic type plant. So you really want to pay close attention to it. I would recommend doing your own research into nightshade so that you can actually understand it, especially if you're into necromancy and are looking to get into herbalism on a serious business. Okay. Now, White Olander, which is considered most potent, which is utilized by the Cabal itself, but you don't really come across White Olander very often. Normally, it's just Oriolander, or at least some variation of it, because there's a lot of different topics, there's a lot of different species of it that is out there. Okay. Rue, otherwise known as Witchbane, has been utilized by grave robbers and is natural for necromancers to use. And they supposedly, according to Sumner Stredwood, you know, really do cherish this. All right. Hellbore has been widely used worldwide. Brimstone has been used for its uses in both destruction rituals and hexes to mark for death through magics. Think of your favorite TV show, if you wish. Those little griscris bags that can be hidden in walls, can be hidden underneath a bed or in a car. Something that's going to destroy your enemy. Things that are going to be, if you know where they walk, place it there. You know what I'm saying? Place it in that little walkway, and every time they walk by it latches onto your target. Okay. Mullion. And this one here, I always thought mullion, when I was studying herbalism in the past, mullion was one of those things that you come across for cooking and baking. Okay. Now, historically, this has been used in conjuration spells and rituals for heightened senses. Now, I found that very, very interesting. Now, when we get into fumitory type things, it's mostly close to money and exorcism. Mandrake is a protection, money, and love and health type thing. Nightshade is funeral rites and chiromancy practices. Um, Mugwort, protection against the evil eye, nightmares and dreams and stuff like that. Life prolonging, toxic qualities, and funeral uh, processions. Okay. Hellborn, uh, Hellborn or Black Hellborn, invisibility, astral projection, and exorcism rituals. Rue or Witchborn, healing, love, hexes, and protection. Mullion, protection, love, exorcism, and health. Okay. And I found these very, very interesting because very few practitioners actually delve into the uses of herbalism within their own practices. A lot of which, we've all heard of incense sticks, we've all heard of the little charcoal, the little rice type beans that you can light on fire and burn in the burn pots, stuff like that. These are more modern day uses within occultism. All right. Now, when we look at this stuff, there's a lot of things. If we go into Nicholas Remy's book, Demonology, okay, this one right here, all right, by Nicholas Remy, Demonolatry, an account of the historical practice of witchcraft. Okay, this one's edited and with an introduction and notes by Montecule Summers, who's been trying to, through his books, bring Satanism back to its true origins. But anyways, the reason I bring this book into it is because of the fact that just in chapter 1, and I want you to really pay attention here. Okay, let me get past the introduction here. Where is it? Here we go. Contents. All right. All right. Where is it? Oh, anyways, it's in chapter 1. And one of the things that he talks about is through the witch's hammer. We've all heard of that. Okay, it's what the church used to identify witches. It is what was used to document what was found on them, or at least the accused witches. Okay, for the last 300 years. Now, in this book, he discusses 3 powders. Okay, now you notice how I said plants. Okay, herbalism in general, alchemy earlier. This is where it really gets broken down into, is because 3 known substances have been categorized by the JCI. Okay, the witch's hammer, through the persecutions of witches from the Dark Ages all the way through to the burning times in the witch trials. Okay, all the way up into 1937 to 1939 when the witchcraft laws were dismantled. Okay, now these 3 powders are: number 1, black powder. Okay, black powder was said to be created with bones. Okay, crushed bones, pepper, black sand, stuff like that. Things that were utilized for hexing and cursing. The black powder was known for murder. Okay, it was basically out there and put forth throughout history as an agent that causes death. Okay, sometimes it's said that the witches and warlocks, sorcerers would wear, they they would have it on their hands. It was their own specific blend. And what would happen is, because they were immune to the substance itself, okay, this substance would affect other people that they were looking to curse or hex. And it was considered to be black magic because of the fact that it was a powder. And because it wasn't of the JCI, the church, it was deemed of the devil. Okay. And witches became associated with death. All right. Now, the second solution is known as an amber colored powder. This type of powder was utilized in a specific way with certain poisons, certain types of plants, certain degrees of ingredients. And what it does is it would make a person sick. It would make them ill. Okay, bring them weak, give them sweats, the lack of oxygen going to the lungs and through the body. They would most likely be puking a lot, which resembles the flu. Okay. Now, what's interesting here is that it would also give them other signs, such as fevers, say diarrhea or stuff like that. And this is most likely due to some of the ones that I've read off in my personal grimoire on herbalism. Okay. Now, certain doses like hemlock, for an example, 1 seed would make them sick, 6 to 8 seeds would kill them. But it would take time to seep into their system and start, raising havoc. In this case, it would make them ill. It would make them physically sick. And what is a good powder that makes sick but also can kill without having the third powder, the third solution, which was a white powder. Okay. Now, before I get into the white powder, I want to just break down some things in the amber colored. Um, Most of these ingredients would be something like maybe a poison from a serpent, perhaps some kind of like a say, for example, a tree frog. You know, voodoo. In Haitian voodoo, the zombie powder, for an example, is mixed in with gases from toads. It is mixed in with poisons from tree frogs. It is mixed in with numerous types of venoms from or poisons, I should say, from different species of of pufferfish. Okay. And I found this very, very interesting through my study of herbalism, especially that of venoms and poisons, because one of the towers I'm actually working in deals with black magic. It deals with um, curses. It deals with necromancy, the dead and undead. It deals with chiromancy and venoms and poisons and stuff like that. And because I'm working with a couple of different towers at once here, it's about 3 to 4 in general through the Mazajira Cabal system. It's a lot of this stuff is very, very fascinating. It's very, very interesting how they combined the materials. Now, in this case, between the venom of the pufferfish, the poison of the different species of pufferfish, the poisons or venoms of the tree frogs, and the gases, each outside of these three common goals, these three common ingredients, every boko or bokor within the Haitian Voodoo system had their own unique systems, okay, their own unique ingredients. And a lot of these individuals, okay, utilize different things like bones of animals or humans. They utilize different ingredients, like, say, oh, I'm just going to throw out amber, or perhaps let's go with, well, I don't know, let's go with a mango, or, whatever, where somebody else would have, say, I don't know, basil mixed in with a banana sort of thing. Okay. I'm just putting it out there so you have an idea of the examples in this case. Okay. Every Bokor has their own unique ingredient when it comes to the zombie powder. And when we talk witchcraft, specifically that from the European sense, the same thing was found on the witches. Okay. The powders were all different. They all had different ingredients, but the three main colors remained the same: black, amber, and white. Okay. Now the white powder, that was ingredients that could heal all these other types of ingredients. Okay, whatever they made sick, or whoever they made sick, they could sure enough have that same powder on hand that would heal them. Now, not not just poisons or things that make you sick, but there are things out there that will make you heal. For an example, when we get into herbalism and we get into plants and trees and shrubs and all this stuff, there are numerous things out there that will also heal you. For an example, plants. Okay, lemons grow on trees. You know, the lemon trees. Okay, now lemons have a unique ability. The juice itself. Number one, it's a blood purifier. Number two, it prevents both gallbladder and kidney stones. Okay. Blueberries or I should say raspberries, black raspberries in general, they have a whole nother aspect. Whereas celery and, say, for an example, strawberries have a unique ability to increase sexual activity. Okay. Now, things that will benefit your brain, on the other hand, such as your electrolytes, things that would heal there too. You know, every aspect you can think of from within the old days was utilized within alchemy, within breaking down a basic structure and creating something new, be it minerals, be it um, irons, be it plants. You look at how far the modern day medicine has come. They're just now catching up to things that practitioners have known for over 2,000 years. Not mentioning where they come from. I mean, when we get into Norse, say Gaelic traditions, there were the 9 healing herbs. Very, very interesting. I'd recommend that you look into them. Specifically that of the Druids. The Druids have a different signature type plants that they use. And when we get into certain things like, say, apples, apple juice can help cure gout in the joint. Okay, if your toe ends up, say for an example, you get an ingrown toenail, or say for an example, you end up with gout. You have a history of gout and ingrown toenails. Okay, you know how painful that can be. Okay, you really know how painful that can be. Apple juice in general. Okay, apple juice gets right in there. It's an acid, okay? And it's known as a type of acid, what do they call that? A phyllacic acid, okay? That's safer to digest, but it's a corrosive agent as well. And the reason it's a corrosive agent is because it gets in there and does what doctors want you to pay thousands of dollars for, okay? Now, if everybody knew that drinking apple juice, say 2 or 3 glasses of it over a day, would prevent gout or even cure it, hmm, from all that plaque and all that starch that builds up in the body. If everybody had that knowledge, where would these medical professionals be? Huh. I guess they would be out of business now, wouldn't they? Okay. Miss B, how you doing? Even cannabis itself reduces pain. You consider sugar, okay? Tooth pain, catnip, pinch per cup is a natural tranquilizer, okay? Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, all right? Paul Huzon's Mastering Herbalism, Practical Guide, okay? Very, very good books. Now, if you think about it in general, and what did I do with that other paper there? Ah, I know I had it here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Mugwort, for an example, also known as wormwood, is utilized for stimuli for the pineal gland and helps you get into a state of psychic awareness. Interesting how a simple plant can increase memory, perhaps even unlock dormant areas of the brain. You see what I mean? A lot of things out there can help you along your path as a sorcerer or sorceress. Sulfur, dragon's blood powder, red sandalwood powder, myrrh, frankincense, and graveyard dirt, when combined, is a great sedative. It's also a great stimuli in itself when burned. It's kind of like putting sage, burning sage. Okay, same exact thing. And I found this one out by accident because I was in my altar room. Luckily, I was sitting down. Okay. Luckily, I was sitting down for this because of the fact that it literally took me off balance. It just the smell of it. It wasn't the smell that overpowered me. It was inhaling it. It was almost like a hallucinogen in a sense is the best way to describe it. But it took me a couple of hours to even get over it. And this was just a small dosage that I had lit in the burn pot while meditating. My vision got all wonky, and a lot of, I was kind of off balance. It was almost like my equilibrium just shifted and kind of went out of balance a little bit. And that was actually mixing them together. So when we look at, okay, so when we look at plants, herbs, and fruits, vegetables, okay, things that are grown from the earth, there is so much out there that has been noted, things that have been categorized. Okay. The Massager Cabal, Paul Huzon, and Scott Cunningham are just three of the herbalists that I would recommend delving into, especially if you want to get into natural remedies such as tonics, teas, okay, things that will help you relax, you know, things that will help you on your personal journey. Say to find a mate, perhaps to relax or to heal, maybe to even quit smoking. I mean, Scott Cunningham actually came up in his book, the Book of Shadows, brought in licorice. Just sucking on licorice when you get that hankering. I found that very interesting. But the further back you go in history, the more you see where these plants, these fruits were utilized, where midwives and sorcerers, witches, mages, and sages worldwide were sought after. Even shamans were utilized between Indo-European roots all the way down to African traditions, going from Western cultures into Eastern cultures. You learn as you go, but you got to be the ones to do it. Now, yeah, that was definitely a haha moment. Salute. Yeah, I learned real fast. Make sure you're sitting down, or at least laying down when you like that combination. And yeah, exactly. Seeking serpent, they would freak out. And this is why. Number one, you look at how, when you go to the hospital, let's say, for example, you take an ambulance, you call them and say, hey, I need to be taken to the hospital. That's $400 for a trip 1 mile. Just 1 mile from where you live to that ER. Then you spend 3 hours just sitting around or laying around while they observe. They run certain tests, like, say, a blood test, perhaps a CT scan or a CAT scan of your body, a metallurgical scan, even if you've fallen. Okay. Now, picture this right there, including the medication, the doctor's time, you're spending probably 4 grand, $4,000. You consider a woman goes into labor. That's $19,000. $19,000 right up front, right there. And yet, midwives were used for hundreds, if not thousands of years to help a expectant family to deliver. Natural herbs, acupuncture, pressure points even were utilized. Certain teas would help stimulate certain areas of the body. Certain aloes could cure certain diseases, certain infections. But due to the dominance of the JCI, a lot of this information has been lost throughout the centuries, unless you get into hereditary family lines where this knowledge was secured and passed down generation to generation. Now, keep in mind that this area is not just about assassination or healing. Look at it this way: if we get into spiritualism, okay, in Santeria, or Santa Morte rather, there is a bath with smelly herbs and plants. The old necromancy type rituals that took place in graveyards, cemeteries, church grounds used herbs in a griscus bag. Santeria, they're used as a cleansing or, at best, a purifying agent. You get into Quimbanda, Umbanda, or even Voodoo or Voodoo, Hoodooism. You're going to see the exact same things. Herbalism being utilized in these fashions. Even in Satanism, there is herbs, plants, things that are utilized. And I had a conversation with a Baruja when I was down in Tucson, Arizona, about a decade ago. And one of the things that she suggested was to separate your everyday cooking herbs from that of your magical herbs. Have a completely different shelf or perhaps a cabinet for them. And she's right, because you don't want to mix them together. But if you are cooking, apply your sorcery at its best. Even if you're using a cauldron or an average pot. All right? So, with that said, I hope this has been intellectual. I hope it's been educational. And I hope that you really do go out and look at herbalism on a serious note within your own unique practices. Because I think that more people who get into this, the more you're going to find you don't need a doctor for. You're just going to go out, grab it. Like if you have a wound, utilize a spider's web. It's the same thing as a gauze. Mud will help stop the bleeding. Again, just simple things from the earth, things that were created by the earth, by animals, can be used. You just got to know what you can use and what you can't. And if you do get something like, say, let's call it necromantic herbalism, and you want to get to commune with other entities such as demons, perhaps the angel of death, you want to get to know death or even commune like that of, say, sorceress Cagliostro the necromancer. You think of it like this: measurements, mathematics, portions. Like I said with catnip tea, one pinch per cup, go lay down, try to relax, and before long, you're in la la land. All right? Kind of like having a shot of vodka or Mexican tequila, depending on what you like. Malibu rum, perhaps, the chocolate. I know what you're thinking. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? But yeah, like I said, go out, take a look at herbalism, look at your path, your practice, delve into the research, and see where it takes you. See what you can utilize from your path. See how far back they go. All right. In my experience, I've seen things going back 300, 400 years, if not more. Okay. Certain herbs, certain metals have been used for over 2,000 years. Okay. I'm talking going all the way back into the first, second dynasty of Egypt, the Greco Greek, the Greco, the ancient pre civilizations of the Roman Empire. A lot of the traditions there and seeing how the JCI utilized it, or I should say capitalized on it. Go into European, go into Russian, go into India, India traditions, get into medicine men, get into the witch doctors and the priests and the druids and you know hell, even if you're Native American, get into your culture. You know what I'm saying? Get into your culture and see just how much you can learn there, because you also want to make sure that you get the name correct if you do that, because you don't want to get scalped. All right. Just saying. They're very, very touchy on the terms that you use. Okay. If you come in and you say you're a black magician, guess what? You're getting scalped. Um, you want to go with the term healer, or perhaps even, oh, I don't know. Let's go with medicine man. Okay. You know, the native way, is very, very interesting. You welcome, Seeking Serpent. Well, I wouldn't go into an old T-shirt, but yeah, I get the gist of it. It's definitely illuminating gnosis. It really is. So with that said, I hope this has been intellectual. I hope it's been educational. And as usual, feel free to reach out to me, if you have any further questions. And I'll be back next week to drop a couple more posts down. I'm going to try to do a lesson plan for one, and then for the second video, I'm going to do a ritual. All right. So you guys can see exactly what I mean. All right. Now, with that said, have a good one, and until next time.